I'm so excited to be sharing with you today on shaping the sound of your culture. And to me, shaping the sound of your culture directly connects to how we shape the actual culture of our offices, our businesses, and our lives. And so before I get into it, I want to just give you the premise here, which is the culture of sound is broken up into like 4 different elements. The first one is vibe. You have to determine what your vibe is when you're writing music, when you're creating something. Who are we? What are our values? What are our expectations? And then you've got your lyrics, which is the story we tell, the language that we use. And then we have our instruments, which is our resources, the people that contribute, even the sheet music and the goals that we set. And then we have the rhythm, which brings everything together, which gets everyone on point together. And that's where I want to hone in just these few minutes that I have with you today to hopefully encourage, inspire, and maybe spark some new thoughts. Hone in right here on the rhythm. There's a difference between noise and sound. And the basic premise is that noise is unfocused sound. So if you're out there with me, when I count to 3, I want you to give me one big clap together. Okay, are you ready? 1, 2, 3, clap. I'm watching you. Okay, yes. Now, what we're going to do is all together, we're going to clap in rhythm together. So we're going to just get it together. Here we go. Everyone clap together like this. Here we go and go. And it's delayed, but we're there. Okay, so the difference there is that one clap is unfocused sound. It's just noise. But when we come together in rhythm, we create a musical beat. It's interesting and amazing to me how this relates to our life and to teams that we work with, because each part individually might be kind of noisy. It could even be a harsh sound or a harsh element or just even an annoying sound. But it is possible to bring all kinds of elements together to create music and to bring everyone together in harmony, even when it seems like there's dissonance. Like, let's take city noise, for example. If you've ever lived in a big city or gone to visit and stayed in a hotel, you open the window or open your balcony doors and you hear all kinds of noise. There's the noise of machines building or rebuilding next door. There's the sound of a TV. There's horns honking. There's just the street sound. There's people talking. There's all kinds of noise. And it can honestly cause a lot of stress in people because of the frequency and the unfocused sound of that noise. But it is possible for those exact same elements, when they come together in rhythm, to create some beautiful sounds. And I want to show you this as an example of that.
Violent clashes between police and roving groups have left several officers injured. Police cars destroyed, some set afire. Tonight, looters have ravaged through stores, crowds rampaging through the streets, police maintaining a perimeter for right now, and their distance. Tom Costello was involved in the trauma. I know you've had violent clashes. Roving groups.
Awesome. So as you can see, all the different elements can come together and make a beautiful sound. And everyone in our teams and in our lives, they should and can be unique in their own right. But yet when we come together around the same rhythm and in beat together, we can create some amazing things and do amazing things together. And so we don't want to stifle the uniqueness and let everyone be themselves. We want them to do that, but we want to bring everyone together around the same rhythm and the same beat. Perspective plus practice always leads to progress when we bring all the different elements together. I want to talk to you now about practice and the support that it takes, because as you saw in there, bringing everyone together takes work. It's bringing all the instrumentation, all the resources together and getting them on page. And no practice and no progress is made without support. It's so needed because support strengthens, support educates, support reinforces. Support is absolutely necessary for any person's success. We never get anywhere great or big on our own. So support is absolutely necessary. Can I get an amen to that? It's absolutely necessary that we have the support of others around us. Yet, in our own lives, I find that even as leaders, people can struggle with being prepared not only to hear people's requests for support, but to respond in a healthy way and an in-kind where we're able to either provide the support or lead people to the support that they need. In music, there's this thing that happens. I don't know if you've ever been to a concert and experienced this, but sometimes when you're listening to music, one person gets off. Maybe they're out of key, maybe they get off beat, maybe the metronome in their ears is off, maybe they think it's in G, but it's actually starting in the key of A. And if you've ever seen it happen, you see the whole band or the whole orchestra kind of make a face like, oh gosh, there's a problem, something is off. And what typically happens in that scenario is either the leader of the band just says, all right, let's pause, and we're gonna have to start this whole thing over because something was off, and typically they can fix the problem. Or sometimes the people in the band, there's one or two people who can hold down the fort and say, I'm gonna stay on beat, even though it sounds crazy right now. And sometimes it's steady enough and loud enough where everyone can then get back on track together. In our own lives, when things get off, we need support to get back on track. So my question for you is, what are the things that help you stay on track or get back on track when you feel like it's off? Maybe for you personally, or even for your team. How can you get back on track? And what are those stabilizing factors? Are you ready to hear them from other people that there is a need for support? I've realized that we have to be careful about this because a lot of us have ingrained this thought inside of us that when we hear somebody complaining or expressing a concern that we need to get defensive. And I think this goes back to even childhood. I have a kid, a little boy who's in 4th grade. He's amazing. Last year was the first time he came home telling me the quote that he heard on the playground that day, which is snitches get stitches. And I was kind of shook by it because I was like, that thing is still around these days? Okay. And so we had a conversation about it because I told him tattling is not bad. When kids tattle, it's because they don't know how to handle the situation that they have been presented with. So I don't need you to tattle to me if your sister, his older sister, lays her finger right here and is like, I'm touching you. I think you can handle that situation. But a lot of times kids will see something that's wrong, see somebody punch somebody else and go tattle, and then get a negative response from a teacher saying, don't tattle. And I told my son, it's okay, because tattling just means, hey, there's something happening and I don't know how to handle it. It's a cry for support. As adults, when we complain, I think it's the same type of scenario. When an adult complains or expresses a concern, it's because they're saying, I need some support in this. Something's happening and I don't know how to handle it. A lot of times I think that people, when they're even expressing a conflict that they were in and they thought they handled, but they're expressing it to you in an emotional way, they're either looking for you to go, hey, I think you could have handled that better, or hey, I think that you handled that great. They're looking for some affirmation or for some correction. They're looking for support. And that's where we can come in as leaders, as peers, as coworkers, and be there to provide the support when it's needed. When someone gets off track, to help them get back on track. Because we don't want it to be a noisy culture. We want it to be a culture that's in rhythm, in music, and in vibe together. So for you, what's your vibe? What brings you back to get on track? What support can you use and what support can your team use? And when we bring all the things together, when we shape the sound of our culture, we can progress together. Thank you so much for your time. I hope that you enjoyed it. Have a little musical thought, a little fresh perspective on that.
Monica.
Yes.
Make sure my microphone came back on. So let's say they're not musically inclined. These lovely folks here
Yes.
are listening to the sound of culture and they're thinking about it. How do we take some of these principles, or better yet, because I told them we'd have like 3 or 5, great takeaways today. What's something from all of this that you're like, if you could do something today with this idea, because I don't know, snitches, they do get stitches, but sometimes here in the work environment, we want people to be communicating openly, transparently, all of that. What's something that they can take from this and say, okay, here's what we can do with this now?
Yeah, I think it's asking and determining, how can I put into practice supporting my team? How can I practice support? And maybe how can I practice harmony? That maybe what's one way we can come together and bring people back on track who maybe have gotten off track or struggling right now. I think that's a huge part of it, in practice support.
In practicing support. Okay, so getting off track on like what the responsibilities are, what the relationships are, if somebody's like a outlier, or just in any of those ways.
Any of those ways. I think a lot of times right now, what people are confronting is, how do we properly support people? Because from the top, like I was talking to a client not too long ago, and they were saying from the top, there's all this talk of like, we are here for you. We're supporting you. We want you to come to us if you have anything. But the concern of the leadership team was, we're concerned that the mid-level and some high-level employees might not be ready to receive that, or not know how to respond to that. When they might hear it as a complaint and so get defensive, instead of hearing someone say, I need support. I'm complaining because I don't know how to handle this situation.
Gotcha. That's really good. And it's so interesting because you said, and what we know to be true, a lot of times leadership can say, the door is open.
Yes.
You are what we support you. We want you.
And that comes from the top. Yeah.
But sometimes people, don't trust that stepping in there and sharing something because the response might be a difficult one. Or B, people just aren't used to going up. It's almost like the leader having to say, I have an open door, but I'm going to walk into your space instead of inviting you into mine.
Yeah, that's great.
That's really one of the opportunities we have to really shape that culture, where it's a proactive accessibility and not so much, because I love that idea of practicing support. Instead of it being passive, like we're here for you, it's like I'm coming to you.
Yeah. And hearing what they're not saying. When they're saying, this is not okay, I don't like this.
Yeah.
What they're saying is, I need some support in either seeing this clearly or handling a problem.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.